Hey guys, welcome to the channel, and this is gonna be pretty cool. I'll be reacting to Star Citizen Meet the Team weapons content. And for those of you that don't know, my line of work is survival and preparedness. That's what I write about, that's my main channels, and firearms is something I know pretty well. I've been shooting for, almost at 20 years, more like 30 years shooting in classes, firearms instructor class, beginners, moderate, and advanced handgun classes, rifle, shotgun, fighting in and around vehicles classes, dynamic entry, competing actually in a couple, in 3 different countries by now. So guns is something I know pretty well. A Glock Armorer's course. I know guns, right? So let's see if that is reflected here. I've seen some cool things in terms of firearms with Star Citizen and some other things that make you, who are they consulting with? Where are they getting this from? Let's see what they have to say now.
Did we just do one? So that's enough of me. Let's meet the first of 3 teams over 3 weeks that don't often get the ISC spotlight in a feature that we like to call Meet the Team Weapon Content Team. Meet the Weapon Content Team. Good old WCT. Let's just meet them.
Why have you avoided the camera in the last 5 years?
I'm
a bit nervous.
How long ago did you start here?
8 months ago.
8 months
Almost
ago?
9, yeah.
How's it been?
It's been great. I like it.
How many of these do you think you've done at this point? I can't keep track.
This is the 5th.
This is the 5th one? Do you like doing these?
Yes, because I'm an attention seeker.
There's definitely more lights than I was expecting, to be fair, but it's pretty bright. A little nervous, yeah.
I used to be a life model before I came here, so...
You used to be a what?
Life model. So once you've had people draw you naked, it's pretty hard to get awkward around anything.
Not nervous at all?
Not really, no.
That's nice, being naked. Look, one of the first things, and most of these guys seems to be from the UK team, would that be correct? The UK team people will have very little idea of what a gun actually is. I've lived in UK, I've shot in UK, I've taken classes, shotgun, a practical shotgun class in UK. That's as far as you can get into something that is a little bit more tactically sounding. But it's super limited, nothing in terms of semi-automatic beyond 22 long rifle. These guys, none of these guys have any experience with anything even close to what they are doing in the game. Again, I'm not sure about the development part of things, but I do know about guns. I would go for the Texas team to work on this sort of thing. Guys that may have had some experience shooting in the backyard, or, I don't know, military training, or at least some more exposure to what guns actually are.
Not too bad.
Cool.
Depends what the questions are.
How prepared are you for this?
I have been in meetings since I walked in, and I have done nothing up until today.
Phil! Phil, be quiet! The microphone's right there! The microphone's right there in front of your mouth.
As silly as that seems, this thing over here, that like giant revolver with a... So first of all, you cannot suppress a revolver. There was a Russian attempt of suppressing a revolver. That's as far as that got. But no, suppressing revolvers is not a real thing. There is a little accessory for Glocks that's kind of like a little bayonet. It is cool, but what I'm saying is it's not completely unrealistic to have some kind of blade attached to a gun like that. There is a crazy accessory for Glock, kind of like a tongue-in-cheek thing, but I know it does exist.
Aren't we a spaceship game?
We're definitely a spaceship game, but a core aspect of that is definitely the FPS side of it as well. A lot of our players enjoy flying around the spaceships, but they also enjoy the aspect of being able to be boots on the ground and exploring the world from the first-person perspective.
The weapon content team are the team that are responsible for any weapon you see in-game, pretty much.
It's the team that creates the artwork and animation for Star Citizen and Squadron 42.
We make really cool-looking guns. Lots of guns.
melee weapons, FPS weapons, large capital-size turret weapons, fire extinguishers, multi-tools.
We're just a group of people that just, I guess, find firearms is the most interesting part of the 3D art space.
So it's called Meet the Team. So let's start where content starts and meet Alberto.
Tell me about Alberto.
I like spaceships.
He's not wrong.
I started in a mixed role in a little company in Germany called Egosoft, and there I was doing spaceships, both 3D and both concept. And I moved here because I was always very passionate of the universe of Star Citizen.
His pathway is just insane. I think he designed, luxury yachts or something, so yeah.
So yachts, planes, everything that was not a car, basically. Alberto is an incredible concept artist. The concept artist kind of facilitates the development of the idea.
We get the brief, the words, and we translate it to something visual. In my opinion, that's the most creative part.
Alberto's great. I mean, he's a pleasure to work with. I've only had really good experiences talking to him. He provides so little friction when working with him. He's genuinely really good at what he does. He does a lot of the problem solving for you.
What's your relationship like with Alberto?
90% pranks.
I understand what?
The pranks.
Pranks?
Yes.
Like what?
Flipping the screen from each other, like changing the sensitivity of the mouse when he just turn around, something like that.
We really have to fight this guy. Is that a productive use of your time, Samuel?
If I do it fast, yeah.
Did you catch that thing? They have like a little, what is it, like that opens and closes, that thing there in the back? That looks pretty cool. That looks interesting.
Samuel's one of our newer concept artists in the company. He is very excited about the project and very passionate about everything that we do as a company.
How do you think other people see Sam Brito?
Oh, that's a great question.
I would say he have this positive vibe to him. You know, he's the doctor.
Sam is fun, getting better and better. He's super young, super talented.
Absolute bundle of joy from a different culture coming from Venezuela. Lots of interesting stories and really approachable, and just overall the same things I say about Alberto. I can go to him, I can talk about what he's working on, and the concepts he provides are of an extremely high quality.
He's really keen to kind of start working and get a little bit more involved with the weapon side of concepting rather than just the vehicles. Every time we mention it, he's like, oh, can I do it? Can I do it? So yeah, he's super excited about it, which is great. I always kind of think that the more passionate people are about the subject they're working on, the better the results you're going to get.
So they had like a handheld Gatling there in the back, some sort of concept that they're working on. And that seems, what is it, like a double barrel of some sort? Is that something in game? I don't think it is.
Weapon side of concepting rather than just the vehicles. Every time we mention it, he's like, oh, can I do it? Can I do it? So yeah, he's super excited about it, which is great. I always kind of think that the more passionate people are about this.
Yeah, there you go. So this is like a Gatling multi-barrel powered of some sort. That's gonna be
subject they're
nice,
working on, the better the results you're going to get. We've got Alexi, who's our weapons lead. He joined us a year and a half ago, I want to say. He's been a great addition to the team.
I decided to work on the video games because I always wanted to help people, not necessarily when they're already ill, because I have a medical degree, but it never worked out for me because down the line, I decided that I wanted to bring happiness and not cure the aftermath of it.
Did you know that he got his degree to be a doctor?
What? No, I didn't know. I guess I'd like him to be my doctor. I'd probably trust him.
I really enjoyed the video games, like almost anyone. But at some point, it struck to me that real people do them, and I just started to look around and see what I can do, how I can start to make video games, and that's how I ended up as a 3D artist.
Very laid-back guy, has a really good eye for stuff that you can so easily miss. Like he'll pick out stuff I can't.
Okay, so that's it. That's something they're probably working on for, like pyro. I hope they are. So like you see like a AK-ish kind of magazine, folding stock over there. This is, yes, all like AK over and mixed with energy weapon of some sort. So it could be what, like multi-barrel power. I mean, you have the piston here, you have the barrel here, and yes, AK sight. So these would be internals of somewhat of an AK, combined with some kind of energy weapon and a little bit of duct tape. That is nice. I hope to see a lot more of that.
Stuff that you can so easily miss, like he'll pick out stuff I can't even see.
Since he's joined in, the optimization of our work has just flown through the roof. He's a really valuable member of the team, and I definitely consider him a friend. He's a really nice guy.
He's created quite a driving force for the team across both our projects.
Alexi is okay at table tennis.
Just okay?
Yeah, he's okay.
This is something that kind of grinds my gears. No one does duotone anymore. That is 1990s kind of guns. Your HK USP duotone, or my old, I'm talking about, 30 years ago, it was cool to have a duotone 1911. Guys, it's been a while since then.
We've got Talon.
I'm one of the key weapon artists here, so I work on creating the 3D models and creating the weapons, the gadgets, hand grenades, and every other kind of thing you can think of that the player might use in the FPS aspect of the game.
Talon, what I say, is a super passionate weapons artist. He's big into sort of airsoft and milsim and that side of things.
The fountain of all knowledge when it comes to weaponry.
I don't think there's anyone that knows more about guns than Talon.
Does it operate correctly? Where does it take its influences from? And I think that's really important.
That's kind of like what you see. So that's their source of firearms information is a guy that does airsoft. I mean, again, it would be cool if they actually had a guy that knew about guns. And it's not just, sometimes people think, oh, someone that was in the military. Yes, some guys that have been in the military know a little bit more about guns. Usually, it has to be a gun guy that knows a heck of a lot about guns. It's not just about having been police officer or in the military. It has to be someone that is a little bit of a gun nut. Gun nuts are the ones that know about guns. Someone that is, yes, either in the military, but a little bit more on the tactically-ish, special kind of interest sort of thing in terms of guns. There's lots of people in the military that barely know the gun they've been handed, they've been issued. But you need a gun guy to do better work on this sort of stuff. That's why I'm surprised that they haven't gone more with someone from the U.S. In the U.S., and especially in Texas, of all places, you are a lot more likely to find someone that knows about video games, knows how to program and 3D render, and happens to know quite a lot about guns, or at least a little bit. Because if not, you're kind of like doing this thing of going with someone that knows what airsoft. Airsoft is nice, but it's not really. It's completely different the way in which things operate. And airsoft itself is kind of borrowing things from real guns. It works in a completely different way. And you have airsoft things that are. I mean, I guess it's okay, but it would be a lot better if they actually had someone that knew firearms.
He's just a great person to have on the team, nice and approachable, and always up for a bit of a laugh. And joining him's Ben as well, who's another artist too.
What do you think other people say about you?
I'm very quiet, so I'm not sure.
Definitely the life of the party, which you wouldn't expect, noticing that after a few drinks, he's definitely the circle of attention.
He's been a great addition to the team. He's technically our newest member of the team, but he's still been here a couple of years.
I'd say in some ways his artwork is sometimes better than mine. He really knows his way around Blender.
He has such a keen eye for details on the weapon.
You can just kind of throw anything at him and know that you're going to get a really solid result out of it.
I like that one. So you see, this is basically this is kind of borrowed from some other video game. The idea of having the AK without the dust cover. That's kind of the thing you do when you're borrowing from other video games, right?
We've got Joel. Originally, I hired Joel as a prop artist probably close to 8 years ago.
I create the artwork for FPS devices, which includes weapons, gadgets. I also make ship weapons.
Joel's actually the most senior member of the team and was there when I first joined. He was an extremely helpful person to encounter.
Very easygoing, super knowledgeable, always has a pun ready.
He has some really strange t-shirts. Every other day he comes in with a new t-shirt with something weird on it, and I'm a bit jealous because every time I see them I kind of wish I'd had the idea of buying them.
I like t-shirts. This one, it's The Simpsons. Everyone likes The Simpsons, right?
What about your producer?
Oh yeah, don't let me forget Kieran. He's Mr. getting things done and getting things done on time, so he's brilliant.
I quickly realised I didn't want to be an artist or a programmer. I started out in level design, and then I found out that my passion was the team.
Without Kieran, there wouldn't be weapon content because he's the guy who glue it all together, you know.
Eats a lot of eggs. Eats brings in about 4 eggs a day or something like that, so. That's the only bad thing I can think about Kieran.
So next up is our animator, Jordan. He couldn't make it into the office today, but we love him and he's great. I mean, I've been working with Jordan for years on the weapon. Since I took over, he was always there.
Jordan have a really, really shiny personality. He's the one person that you can reach out with anything related to animation. He is here to support you.
Always has a lot of stories and anecdotes.
He's also a little bit scary because he knows where everyone lives, and it's unclear when he gets or how he gets the information he does, but when you join the team, within the first few weeks, maybe the first few months, he knows exactly where you are on Google Maps. And for that reason, he is terrifying.
Yet he can't be here to film for this.
No. Jordan, you could have been here for this. We really need you. Where are you, Jordan?
And I'm Ben, the art director. And that's enough about me, so let's look at some weapons we've been working on. So we've got quite a few weapons that are being worked on. We can talk about a couple of them today. So first up, we're going to talk about the P8AR.
P8AR is a assault rifle that may fill the role of someone that wanted something bigger from bearing manufacturer.
Up until now, it's been our squadron exclusive rifle. In fact, I've had backers come up to me saying, please release the P8AR.
And really what we want to do is take that P8 base and do a version that was slightly more tailored towards the civilian market.
A lot bigger and a little bit longer than the...
Yeah, it's like borrowing, I mean, it seems like sort of AR-ish, but with some HK G3 there. Yeah, your forward, little knob there to pull back. That is from a set-me rifle, right? Or a very AK-ish sort of thing. A little bit more of a sight radius would be appreciated, and some ease of mounting. I guess that's something attaches there for the scope. But yeah, the dual tone thing is kind of rubs me very old school, but I guess
the current P4AR, and personally one of my favorite weapons that we've ever worked on.
It is kind of more in line with civilian needs, so it's had a little bit of...
It's a more realistic one. It looks like a freaking AR, right? That's
lightning done to it. It's had some of the more aggressive visuals tidied up a touch.
We did a redesign of the stock.
I stop borrowing from things that are really currently in the market.
And it's had a bunch of new skins and variants done for the consumer market.
Why not just put the one from Squadron in?
The honest answer is we want to kind of hold that back for Squadron, I guess. It is one of the main weapons you use throughout the campaign, and we still want that to feel unique and special. It's one of the things that we do kind of want to hold back as a bit of a hero experience. It is the standard issue, I think is the correct way of saying it, military weapon for the UEE. It's a workhorse, it's reliable, it's functional, and it just gets the job done.
So the Volt rifle is another new weapon that we're releasing in the PU. A brand new manufacturer for the weapon content team. Volt are a electric and beam ammunition type, using electric batteries to power their weapons.
They're very techy, they feel very professional.
Little things that I cannot avoid. I mean, this would be cool if this is a gun made in pyro, right, by pirates. Any professional firearms company in the future would not have a bunch of wires hanging all over the place that would catch with everything you have in your gear, right?
Professionally homemade, it's not thrown together, but also it's not professionally manufactured.
This is the manufacturer who relies on cheap produced goods, but they still wanted it to look cool and shiny, but they are not really reliable in terms of long-term use.
We wanted a manufacturer where people could use these weapons and then they could also repair and upgrade and kind of, they look like you would be able to strip them down and kind of field repair them, or work in your workshop in your ship, or in your habs or wherever, and kind of really get into the nitty-gritty of how these weapons work. So there's a lot of visual cues to that with, like how the screen attaches, all the little kind of fittings and screws and how it all kind of comes together, that visually is something quite nice and exciting, I think.
There is anything like this in a PU as of now. This will suit more of the guys who wanted to show off rather than to be military-style weapons. You will have some shiny, cool guns that you can show to your friends and say, there, I did it. This is a really cool.
Here's where you can get a lot more like fictional and fantasy. When it comes to ballistic weapons, because we do have those, it kind of like, you have to be more realistic.
Walking gun.
I've always been a little bit opposed to very big flashy lasers and electricity on firearms. I think it can drift away from my idea of traditional firearm. But I think working within the confines of what Volt as manufacturer are, being a home-built kit that you could order online.
Yeah, you would assume that in the future, if you have futuristic weapons, you would definitely not have a freaking beam of light pointing where you are, because that's the first thing that gets you shot, right? Having basically like a laser pointer showing where you are just to get you killed. If you want to be a little bit more realistic, the energy weapons would not have a visible spectrum of light in whatever energy you're using.
Supposedly and manufacture yourself.
But it is cool.
I think really fits into the idea of it being more of a fun ammunition type.
This is still work in progress, but you can see the direction where it's going.
So the Pyro SMG, this is something very different to any of our mainstream manufacturers.
A very small handheld submachine gun, similar to, I think, a real-world example would be a Tech 9.
And the whole idea with this kind of
Tech 9, that is
pyro weapon theme is that these things have been made by just people living on the fringes of the universe. They've used whatever they can get their hands on to make something that...
Besides, that looks nothing like a Tech 9.
...works for them.
Imagine Mad Max type of gun that was scraped with everything that you can find around.
Sort of break the art conventions that we've been working with for the last however many years.
Internally, we call them non, because they doesn't have any manufacturer.
It's made by a guy named Steve.
Yeah, you can say so.
The fact that it's very compact and small allows you to hook very tightly on corners, giving yourself a very low exposure when peeking corners, peeking over cover, and has an extremely high rate of fire, so very good for those really close encounters, but I wouldn't be using it at long ranges due to the lack of a stock.
They're really quite cool weapons to work on.
You don't need a stock because it's an energy weapon that has no recoil. That is something that Starfield got actually well. The idea of there's no recoil on energy weapons. There's no, right? You don't have any kind of recoil. You don't need any stock. And when you're doing that in 0G like in Starfield, there's a difference between fire and ballistics and you being pushed back. And when you use the energy weapons, nothing happens. So
and look forward to using maybe more in the future.
Crossbow?
Where the hell is my crossbow?
Do you know what? Chris bought a crossbow up recently. He was like, are we going to finish it? And I'm like, well, it's kind of there. There was one thing stopping us with the way the bolts interacted with stuff that we couldn't do at the time.
The fabled crossbow is an asset that we in the weapon concept team have been trying to get pushed out for a long time now.
At the point of creation this crossbow, it was decided that the bolts needs to stuck when you fire them and not disappear like any other bullet, and this prevented the release of the crossbow because we cannot consistently make the bolts stuck.
It's just a super advanced, cool-looking crossbow. It's got these really cool, like, deploying bolts in it because obviously, we don't really want to carry around these massive, great big kind of quiver of arrows. So it's got these really nice kind of compact little bolts that load into it.
Adding more unique firearms and ways to take out enemies silently is something that the game would definitely benefit from. And so seeing the Crossbow come out into the PU would be something that made me extremely happy. And I know a lot of the players have been asking me about this too.
Not directly involved with weapon content, but still working on the weapons, audio guys and VFX guys. We're working with them directly, and they make our gun shines and sings.
I'll have done my part of the artwork, it'll have gone down the production line, and a few months later I'll bring it into the editor just to remind myself of what I worked on, and I'll shoot it and hear some incredible audio and be like, oh wow, someone's gone all out on this one.
They're a downstream team that, much like animation, it really brings to life this otherwise static and fairly boring object.
Their work is incredible. I've tried to tell them at some point I want to see them add the lead pipe 01 sound effect into the game, but I've yet to get an approval on that one.
Game development is a group effort.
Like the 50 BMG, I don't remember the naming. That is pretty well done. That is pretty well. Feels like a 50, and yeah, that is like a Barrett, right?
When it comes out great, it's just a miracle at some point of a lot of people involved into it.
You know, it is still a first-person game, and I think that, you know, the work we do is important. I hope we're a significant part of your interaction with Star Citizen.
I do enjoy it when, you know, I see people having fun and, you know, enjoying the weapons we've created and put into the, you know, the Star Citizen universe. There's a big community of people that take, you know, like in-game captures and screenshots and stuff, and seeing people take pictures of your work is really nice.
I would like people to know that the feedback they give us, especially on our team, means a whole lot.
When we see a comment come up about something.
The Coda pistol, I like the Coda pistol. I like the idea of like a futuristic revolver. The thing though, if it's gonna be a 50 caliber revolver, which again they do exist, so that's why you go back to like if it's gonna be like a 500 Smith & Wesson. I'm not saying you have to translate that kind of recoil to the game, but make it like a very distinctive, powerful sound that it has, because it's a damn 50 caliber revolver. It's massive.
Thing with the firearms that people might not like, we do take that on board. If it's not applied to the weapon they're speaking about, we'll try and avoid it on future ones. We're always learning.
And if there has been a weapon that you really enjoy using, or is your favourite weapon, then please do let us know in the comments, because the team will love to hear that sort of feedback. With our recent releases, you've seen a whole bunch of updates to how the weapons feel, how they function, and really bring some of those quality and life improvements to the weapons as a whole.
That is not a sight. That thing is not realistically a sight on anything.
And that's just taken a lot of hard work from the weapons department as a whole department.
I mean, yes, there's some stupid sights out there, but that would be, let's call it one of the worst designs of sight. I mean, you could do this and have somewhat of a sight. That I have a shotgun that basically is a piece of fiber, right, glued to the end of the barrel of the shotgun, and it's properly aligned, so it shoots very well for what it is. But man, if you have like a proper gun, you would not have that kind of, because you have no accuracy in that sort of thing. It's just too wide.
Like design, animation, audio, VFX, like the whole lot.
The AK side, that's when you're borrowing from things that do exist, and it does make sense because it does work.
And they've not had a great deal of limelight in these sort of events, but they're super dependable, and I'm very happy to kind of be able to get to talk about them today.
So what did we learn this week? Well, hopefully we learned a lot more about the people that make up the current iteration.
Anyway, yeah, that was fun. That was great. Again, a bunch of things that you notice that it is super clear that they used to have someone here that knew more guns or knew more about guns, especially with some of the things that we saw at the start. Then some of the modifications that came with the new stuff, that's where you kind of tell that they don't have people that know that much about firearms. And I mean, it's a shame, especially having a team in Texas. I'm sure you could find a few guys that know video games, programming, 3D rendering, and know several things about firearms. It's not that everyone is a freaking gun nut or expert in firearms, but if you have somewhat of a guy that's more into that sort of thing, and even to some degree, it's a little bit cultural as well. It's not all that common, but man, the UK team would probably be the worst call for that, because there's simply no way in which they could have the context or the cultural context in which they could possibly get a better feel of many of these things. There's a lot you can do with researching, looking up images online and such, and the guy that does airsoft probably geeks out on a lot of real guns, but there's really no replacement for actually knowing the actual thing and having shot these guns and knowing how these things work. But anyway, that's my take on this, guys. That's going to be all for now. See you on the next video. Take care.